apologizes, and he just won't do it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So even if something wrong was done, the hen is not going to apologize to the wolf, who would really like to destroy him. And that's where he's coming from. See? And then also, with that issue, I think it was the issue with the 78-year-old man punching the guy, which they caught it on camera. Yeah. His Trump spokesperson came out. And I don't really recall exactly what he said, but I think it was this issue that you're talking about. And she said that when he said that, he did, at that time, did not know that that man actually punched the other guy. And he did say, and even one of the reporters trying to crucify him, say that yes, Trump did say he would look into it. He said he would look into it. Yeah. But the bottom line is that and this is my opinion of watching him, he is not going to publicly apologize for anything that anyone does under the circumstances that I described to you. And he said openly, he said, my people don't make any trouble. And I've seen videos, because when he's been having a lot of speeches in airport hangars, because he has his own plane, and they fill up the airport hangar with people, and the plane comes right in there, and it's really exciting to see him come down out of this plane, and people are all cheering and all that. So they're in every speech I've ever seen him make, the people are there for a couple of hours before he gets there. And the videos just go on and on and on. There's one broadcasting company, I think it's called Right Side Broadcasting, that you can get them through YouTube if you want. And they're there for hours. It's live streamed for hours. You see the people, quiet, peaceful, milling around, quiet. It's like when Glenn Beck had that march to Washington, and they had, I think, a million people there, and there was no problem at all. Or when you see, this is a better example, when you see the other side saying that the Tea Party people are violent, and also I will show you pictures of the Tea Party people. A lot of them senior citizens holding flags, those are the violent people. So you can watch for hours the people waiting for his plane to come in. Peaceful, just milling around, So it's these professional disruptors that are causing all the trouble, and that was what he said. He said, my people are not making any trouble. It's these other people, and he's just not going to let them do it to him. So he's under. The Lord really has to keep him. The Lord really has to keep him because he's under incredible witchcraft attack. And it was at this acceptance speech last Tuesday, the victory speech, that he saw the reporter that wrote an article about this Sandusky, who's one of his top aides. And again, I just know he was accused of touching or hitting this woman. I don't know. Apparently, Trump thought that it was a very prejudiced article, and he just called him right out. He's calling these media people out there just in complete shock because, they're worse than the politicians. They think that they're God. They have the power of the pen. They write these articles. They destroy your reputation. And Trump is really taking on the media. He's saying that when he's president, he's going to restore the libel laws. That if you are a newspaper person, if you have this kind of power to hurt me, that you could say something that's not true about me, in a paper that's read by millions of people, I should have the right to sue you. And it used to be that way, and then it stopped. Someone changed the laws. Everything's corrupt. So he's after the media, And he clearly says that the guys, I saw him on Fox and Friends the other morning, and he said to them, you guys are decent. You've always been fair to me. That's what he said, you've always been fair to me. But the one that wasn't fair to him, the one that wrote this article on Sandusky, who apparently he thought was not fair, he called him right out and he said, yeah, you media people, bad people, bad people. He said, well, some of you are nice, but that one back there is disgusting, disgusting, the guy who wrote the article on Sandusky. And then after Trump was finished with that speech, after he was finished, and the pundits all started talking, Tucker Carlson was flipping out. I've never seen any of the media flip out. Tucker Carlson was flipping out that Donald Trump would call a newspaper person disgusting because he didn't like what they wrote about him. But what Trump was talking about, it wasn't that the man had an opinion, you know. You cannot like Trump, you cannot like him politically, you cannot want him to be president. But where Trump was coming from was that this man was using his power to outright lie and destroy the reputation of his aide. And he thinks that's disgusting, you know. But Tucker Carlson was just flipping out. And I remember when Trump decided to not attend that Fox News debate a month or two ago, I saw a newspaper person. I didn't recognize them. I don't know who they were, but they were very offended, saying he should be. In so many words, that man should be put in his place. You know, who do you think you are, taking on the powers that be? Well, he's a very strong man. I mean, he has to be a strong man to accomplish what he's accomplished in life. And he's 69 years old, you know, and he's giving 2 and 3 speeches a day, you know. I mean, I've seen men that are very strong into their 80s, so I trust he's going to be okay, or God wouldn't have picked him. But anyway, that's what he's doing. He's tearing down, he is head-on attacking the evil in this country, and the way he does it is not always right, you know. And here I am saying, and maybe I shouldn't even be saying this, here I am saying, well, he really shouldn't be saying things like that, like, you're disgusting, you know. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Lord is using that tendency in him to completely emphasize what's going on here. This is not a man who wrote an opinion piece. Well, I don't think Trump should be president. I don't think this. You know, I don't like him I don't like his policies. I don't like him for this. That's not what happened. The man wrote an article which was the printed equivalent of what I just spent a half an hour telling him that Ted Cruz is doing. And that's what he found disgusting. That witchcraft, that mind control, you know, that lying motivated by a desire to destroy. Not lying to cover up your own sin and maintain the peace, but a lie that is sent out to destroy you. That's what Trump finds disgusting. But he doesn't express himself that well. So here's the test. Every person following this, you're under a test, okay? And especially if you've heard someone like me explaining this to you, God is watching you, especially if you call yourself a Christian, God is watching you. He has angels out there, they're writing down everything you say and everything you think. How are you forming your opinion? Are you a Pharisee? Are you a Pharisee? Are you looking at the word disgusting, which, is, I mean, you really, is it a sin? Is it a sin to call somebody disgusting? I don't think it's a sin. I think it's carnality and it's childish, but I don't think it's a sin. But the person that he was calling disgusting, who used the power of the pen to slander a man and possibly ruin him for the rest of his life, that's disgusting. Who are you saying is right? And who are you saying is wrong? And this way, if you're going to find out whether you're in your carnal mind or you're in your Christ mind. So especially if you're hearing me, you have plenty of material on which you can test yourself. And if you find out you're in your carnal mind, cry out to God to help you, brethren, because we're coming down to the wire. And if you want to survive in this world, you really have to be able to tell the difference between the Christ mind and the carnal mind, and you need to get the Christ mind yourself, because it's going to get more and more serious. And people that haven't heard me, there are at least Fox News. I watch mostly Fox News. Well, I watched a little bit of CNN. I would say, especially with regard to this this violence issue, okay. I would say it was 8-2 out of 10 reporters. 8 of them were blaming Trump. And to me, that's evil, witchcraft. And 2 of them were giving a godly explanation, saying, coming out of the Spirit that I'm coming at it. So if you're a person and you heard both sides, you're responsible. If you heard the person that God raised up that I don't remember her first name. She's a lawyer on Fox News. I really like her. Her last name is Guilfoyle. She's on O'Reilly a lot. I believe she has a righteous mind. And she was one of the people that gave a true, accurate evaluation of those disruptors, stealing the free speech of all of those people and then claiming to be the victim. So if you're just anyone out there, if you don't have access to what I'm saying, and you heard that righteous explanation and opinion, and you're still walking around, okay, blaming Trump, God, it's written down. I'm telling you, judgment is upon the church. Judgment is here right now, today. It's upon the church in this incident. And God's watching you, and he's writing down your evaluation. God loves you. I don't want to threaten you. God loves you. Okay? But he has a use for you. You're his house. He's supposed to be living in you. And he's going to deal with this corrupt mind that you have. So either you deal with it yourself, okay, by letting someone like me help you, or if you don't have someone like me to help you, or maybe you can help yourself if you see the contrast, okay? You see the two opinions of the two personalities on Fox News. Are you watching, and I don't know, I'm not talking to anyone in particular. Are you watching Fox News? Are you educating yourself? Are you looking to hear an opinion on both sides? Or are you just hearing one word and running off and condemning Trump? Well, I want to tell you, it's written down. It's written down. All of you pastors out there, are you educating your people? If you're not, it's written down. See? Are you doing for your people what I'm doing for you? No. Are you capable of it? If you're capable of it, are you doing it? You're not? You don't get involved in politics? It's written down. Judgment Day is upon us, brethren. Because you can no longer say that you are a Christian and raise up your Bible like Ted Cruz and thank God for the victory when you just cheated Dr. Carson, okay? You can't do that. It's all written down, okay? Your day is coming. God's not in any rush, but your day is coming. I'm very excited. It's a very positive spirit of judgment. It's because this judgment is restoring righteousness to this nation. So I'm just very excited. I calmed down a lot today. I think it was 2 days ago. I was so excited I couldn't stop talking about what was going on. How I see God glorifying himself in everything that's happening. And now there's going to be I think they're calling it, I know the word spring is in it, so I'm going to say American Spring. There was an Arab Spring. There's going to be an American Spring, but American may be the wrong word. And it's these MoveOn.org people. They're going to start a massive rally and protest against Donald Trump, a man who's exercising his free speech. But what are you doing? Because they're a communist front. And what they're looking for is a race war. They're looking for a race war. And actually, there was something that very positive happened in Chicago that night. And I saw some of it on tape, and it was very touching. People, when Trump canceled the meeting, the people that were there were still there, and the protesters were still there. Now, all of them were not MoveOn.org. Some of them a lot of them were college students that were just swept up into this. They don't even know what they're talking about. I saw a couple of them interviewed by someone from Fox News, and they were asked, what do you think Donald Trump is doing? And with the things that they said were crazy. He has never, ever said anything like that at all. So that mine's packed full of lies. But there was some people started talking to each other. And I saw one thing on tape where it was two white people, young people, that were Donald Trump's rally. And they were talking to this young black man that had a Black Lives Matter pin on. And one of the women was ministering Christ to him. She was ministering the love of Christ to him, and how all lives matter. And the black guy was in tears. They were holding hands, I think, and it was beautiful. I started to cry. So something really wonderful happened there. I guess there was a fist fight broke out over there. But there were wonderful things happening. Is the media talking about that? Of course not. So a communication broke out, and God will do things like that. So It's wonderful what's happening. I pray that nobody gets hurt, see? But it's wonderful what's happening. Because the people are waking up from sleeping, and they're thinking, and they're talking to each other, and that's what's going to save the country. That's what's going to save the nation. The people have to come up out of their lethargy, and they need to start listening to the other side. See, because the other side, they warn all, especially these college students, that to not listen. I mean, I heard a man interviewed, Alex Jones interviewed him. The guy actually has his own radio show. I had never heard of him, no one that I knew. And he said that he was there with his wife. He said he's not a particular Trump man, you know. He said that he hasn't decided yet, but he's not particularly a Trump man. But he wanted to hear what the man had to say. So he was there with his wife. And he said they almost brought the children. And he said there were a lot of people there with children. Nobody came looking for trouble except the disruptors. And he said he was just shocked when the trouble broke out. And all he could think about was there were children here. And these disruptors come in. I hear that they've knocked over wheelchairs. They're just total animals. They're total animals. And they're being trained up by radical college professors, radical communist college professors. And our government does nothing about it. So God is starting to do something about it. He has injected someone into the nation at a time like this, where the primaries take a lot of time and publicity. And the Lord has started a riot here, and we need a riot. I mean, no one should get hurt, but I mean a riot, an emotional riot. People having opinions, people have strong opinions. And it's all God that did it, and it's wonderful. And I want to suggest to you, well, I can't prove it to you, but I really think that we had something to do with it. I think that preaching the doctrine of Christ, which is the message that opposes the rhetoric and the false doctrine that's in the church, plus the narrative that's coming from the enemy, it's the church that's preaching a false doctrine. I believe that we're partially responsible for it, for stirring up a spirit of truth. You need to understand that God has raised up a spirit of truth in the man Donald Trump. And he does not always speak the truth in the best way, but the spirit behind him is the spirit of truth. The spirit of truth is on the man. Now, one more issue. Did you all get my email about Twitter? We now have a Twitter account. Did you get my email about Twitter? Yeah.
I don't remember seeing it.
I saw it in one day. I gave 2 tweets, you know, and this was one of them. And I want you all to know my opinion on this too. That Donald Trump he was violently attacked by both Cruz and Rubio as anti-Israel, and they simply. Did you read my tweet? On Israel, yeah. They simply would not listen to what the man was saying. They just would not listen to him. And the same thing when I told you Trump's spokesperson was trying to explain to both Megyn Kelly. And Megyn Kelly doesn't seem to be Trump's enemy anymore. She seems to be very conciliatory towards him. And she had another guest on the show, and the other guest was really mad at Trump supposedly justifying this sucker punch. And Trump's representative told them 2 times, that's not what happened. He said such and such before he saw the video, before he really knew what happened. And he did not justify the punch. And then they were out of time, because you know in television time is always limited. And if you saw the look on his representative's face, she just had this smile on her face, because they just weren't listening. They just wanted to say that he was guilty. They just they desire to think bad about him, you know? And she knew there was nothing more she could say, so she just had this smile on her face, okay? And it's the same thing with Israel. That one video that I saw, both Cruz and Rubio imputing things to him that he never said. that he claims are not true, and they just don't care. So let me tell you what he said. Donald Trump says that he is very pro-Israel. He says that he's given lots of donations to Israel. He was the Grand Master of some Israeli parade. His daughter is a convert to Judaism. I knew she had married a Jew. I didn't know she converted. His daughter's married to a Jew. She's converted. He has Jewish grandchildren. He said there's hardly, you'll have to look far and wide to find someone more pro-Israel than he is. But he would he says, every Jew that he's ever spoken to, if it could possibly be done, would prefer peace with the Palestinians. And he didn't exactly say this, but I'm drawing a conclusion that he must have some idea. He's this master negotiator. That's who he is, this master negotiator. He makes deals. He must have some idea in his head that he said, I would like to try to broker a peace. He said, I understand that it's a very small chance that I would succeed, but I would really like to give it a shot. And he said, and for that reason, when an issue comes up on a debate where he's on national TV, where the whole world is watching, and they say, well, did you hear that so-and-so knifed somebody or did something here in Israel, And Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio were saying, yeah, and that was terrible, what he did was wrong, and blah, blah, blah. And it was terrible, and it was wrong. But Donald Trump is saying, and if you can't understand this, I want you to tell me, wherever, if you're on the computer or wherever you are, if you don't understand what I'm going to say, I want to work with you on this, okay? This is what he's saying. I have this hope, if I become president, of having an opportunity to try. I have an idea, maybe it'll work, I want to try. So what good would it do? If this is my desire, I want to try. What good will it do if there was an incident in Israel, and these Arabs did this, and this is what happened? What good would it do me standing up and saying, yes, Israel is absolutely right, and those Muslim terrorists are just terrible? He's saying, I don't want to say that at this time. At this time, I want to remain neutral, because there's no point in me going into a negotiation with the Arabs saying, well, he has a predisposed opinion. I heard him on TV. He heard this incident. He didn't hear our side of it, and he pronounced us guilty. Okay? So Donald Trump is saying, I am very pro-Israel. I'm very pro-Israel, but I don't want to give my opinion on particular skirmishes right now, because I would like to have the other side have some hope that maybe they could get a fair deal from me, even though I'm pro-Israel. Does anyone here not know what I just said? Do you know what I just said, Mary?
Sure.
Okay. Well, they wouldn't leave it, and they were drawing conclusions and saying that Trump is going to do what America has done, and we have tried to force a peace upon Israel that was into Israel's very much disadvantage, and it's true that I'm ready to start calling names myself, but I won't say it. That called John Kerry, Secretary of State, who looks at Israel and of course Barack Obama, who look at Israel and Palestine as moral equivalents. Okay, the situation in the Middle East is there is no moral equivalency between Israel and Palestine. Okay, there's no moral equivalency. From everything that I've seen and I've researched and I believe, and I'm not saying Israel is perfect, but I believe that they would agree to any reasonable peace, that they want peace. And I know that it's a fact that Arabs can come in and be treated in an Israeli hospital. They will treat you. They do what we do here. You're ill, come in, we'll treat you. And on the other side, it's not true. On the other side, they just want to kill. They just want to push Israel. They want them to leave. They want them to fold up their country and leave. And they're killing them and dropping bombs over there. So there's no moral equivalency. When Israel defends itself, there's no moral equivalency. One side is willing to have peace, and the other side is not willing to have peace. So here Donald Trump is saying, I know it's a long shot, but I have this gift of negotiation. I want to give it a shot. So I don't want to go on public TV right now and say, yeah, those Palestinians, they're this, they're that. I'm going to stay neutral, with my comments right now. And the two of them jumping all over him, saying that he draws a moral equivalency between Israel and Palestine, and he's going to try and force a peace on Israel that would be to their disadvantage. And he said the exact opposite. They're deaf. They're deaf. It says it in the scripture. It says it in the scripture about Israel all the time. They turn a deaf ear. God talked to them. He sent his prophets to them. She said, I sent the prophets. I sent my son. They turn a deaf ear. They turn a deaf ear. You know, they just want to think bad about him. They're just manifesting. You need to understand that everybody that doesn't have the mind of God is going to be manifesting at this man. You know, so it's very exciting. Let us be, this is my desire for everyone that's listening to me, if they can hear me. Let us be in the mind of Christ, that we might, brother, this message that I'm preaching now, it's spiritually powerful. See? I guess it needs to go up on the internet, on the website. You know? It's spiritually powerful. It's the voice of reason on a spiritual level being interjected into the fray. See? Because everything is mind. Mind is the creator. You know? So this is the voice of reason being preached under the authority of the Lord Jesus Christ, that's opposing the insane mentality of the media that's attacking the man who's bringing God's message. And what is God's message? Tear down that political correctness. Stop lying. Political correctness is lying. And the people of this country are being sold down there and betrayed. Donald Trump wants to protect us from letting in unvetted people who might be ISIS members who are coming here to kill us. And yet, the people that only listen to the Democratic side are being told that he's prejudiced, that he hates Muslims, that he wants to deport there are Muslims in this country that are American citizens. So they're saying he wants to deport the American citizens that are Muslim. All these crazy things that they're saying about him. He's not saying anything of the sort. He's not saying anything of the sort. He said he wants to stop the flow of Muslims into this nation until we develop a process that can adequately vet them. And he does say that he wants to deport the 11 million illegal aliens that are here. And it's all over the news. Oh, well, we're civilized people. We don't do that. He's an animal. Well, President Eisenhower did it. He deported, I think, 6 million people that were illegal aliens in this country. There's a precedent for it. That's all. That's our nation. That's all it was. You shouldn't be here. If you're here for 10 or 20 years, you had 10 or 20 years, you should be grateful for it and go back to where you came from. And come in legally. Apply for legal entrance. That's the one. So, brethren, we have to be a nation of laws. You can't have people that are here illegally just living here because they sneaked in and they got away with it. So, the war is raging, and it is a war of ideas. But it's more than a war of ideas. It's a spiritual war, because every idea, every set of ideas, which is called an ideology, has a spirit that's promoting that set of ideas. So it's a war between the mind of God and the mind of the beast. The book of Revelation is alive. Who can make war with the beast? So the carnal mind says no one can make war with the beast. But the Christ mind says what? What does the Christ mind say? The scripture says, who can make war with this beast? And the carnal mind says, nobody can make war with the beast. And what does the Christ mind say?
Make war with the beast.
Who can make war with the beast? Christ can make war with the beast. not only can he make war with the beast, he is making war with the beast, and he will make war with the beast, and he will defeat the beast. The mind of the beast. Okay, are there any questions or comments on this issue? Is there anything else that can clarify for anybody?
We just went down.
Sheila?
Yes, please hold on. We're just being told that our internet just went down.
Not internet, YouTube.
Oh, the YouTube went down. Okay, we have the camcorder. We're going to post this thing. Yes, Sandra, what's your question?
Well, I was just blown away this morning, when you first started asking questions, or bringing forth the conversation about the political scene. I was sort of like thinking along the lines of the disappointment in how the election really, the reality behind the system that is corrupted, in how the people really don't have a say when you really think about it, and how they're starting to say that. And when you spoke, because that was sort of what I was thinking. Wow, they can just get their delegates. That just makes it so the people cannot vote with a new line of thinking. There's new people that people have dropped out, and now who do I vote for, and who are they going to vote for? It's no longer the people's decision anymore. And there's people, when you turn on the news, they know it's no longer the people's decision. It comes down to the delegates, and that to me is starting to get disheartening. But when I came on and you started speaking, the anointing completely started falling down, and I just had this, it's that line of thinking within me, that negative thinking, just flipped immediately. And I started, when you were saying that this is like a revolution, you didn't say that in those words, but like a revolution, this is the shaking and the sifting that's going to separate the righteous thinking from the unrighteous thinking.
Yes.
This is what it's going to take. This amount of disagreement and conflict in the earth,
Yes.
with the mind of Christ at work and the mind of the beast at work. This
Yes.
is what it's going to take. And I am just so excited about your whole exhortation this morning, and it completely changed my thinking. And so I praise God for that. Thank you for your opinion. And I pray that I continue to line up with the opinion of God, because that is what it comes down to, is what line of thinking are you going to line up with?
Yes,
So,
exactly. Thank you for that, Sandra. Yes, exactly. It's very exciting. The truth is like a slap in the face. I have, over the years, said things to people that were true, and the shock in their eyes, it could have been that I slapped them in the face. The truth is a slap in the face. It's given to shake you and to wake you up. And the whole world is shaking because God is shaking Israel, you see. So this teaching by the false prophets in the church, the prophets that prophesied in their carnal mind, that in the last days, when Israel, and they mean Israel in the Middle East, is on its last legs, God will show up and save them. Well, I don't want to get into what's going to happen over in Israel, but that prophecy, that the foundation for it is in the Scripture, but it's not for Israel in the Middle East. It's for this country. This is the living Israel here. Okay, this country is where Jesus Christ has a living relationship with thousands, probably millions of Christian people that hear the voice of God or that are influenced by Him daily. See, this is Israel, not Judah. Okay, it's Judah in the Middle East. This is Israel. There were 12 tribes to Israel, brethren. Okay. And this is the nation where, when we are at the point of being completely overtaken, that the Lord will show up to deliver us from Egypt. See? Because my opinion, after watching, I watched hours and hours these last couple of days. And I think the people at the very top, they know the truth, and the Satanists, they know the truth. But a lot of people, including a lot of the media people, they don't really know the whole truth. They have corrupted minds. Their minds are completely corrupted. They believe these lies and they think that it's the truth. That's how their mind reasons. That's how their mind sees it. That the guilty are innocent and the innocent are guilty. That's their mind sees it upside down. That's the satanic mind. Everything's backwards, you see. So some of us that have been in deliverance might have known for years that this is how Satanism manifests. Everything's backwards. You know, they do the Bible backwards. They turn the flag upside down. Everything's backwards. Well, it's true in the minds of these people. They see good for evil and evil for good, and they really believe it. See? So the truth, and then of course what they do is shut down free speech, and everything's politically correct. And someone comes along and is truthful as Donald Trump, oh, they just don't know what to do with themselves. But further to what Sandra just said, I want to make sure you all understand that these people that are saying you can't vote for the primary, this is all a political party. You know, our founding fathers warned us against political parties. They said don't have political parties. So our country today is not taking the wisdom of our founding fathers. Why? What happens? Because political parties eventually, if not from the very beginning, are not nationalistic. They take care of themselves. They feed themselves. They make money and power off of themselves. So actually, somebody speaking for the Republican Party actually had the nerve to come out and say, well, let me tell you this first. The way it works is, the way it's worked for quite a few years now, is that each party has a convention. And, well, let me start another way. What these elections are all about is that the local people are voting over who they're going to send to a convention. Okay, so let me do it by Republicans, because these are Republicans. All registered Republicans have the right to go to a primary election and vote their choice of the delegate that's going to go to the Republican convention. I think it's going to be in Ohio this year. And I was at George Bush's convention. It was very exciting. See? So you have like thousands of well, I don't have thousands, but you have at least hundreds of that. I guess you have thousands of people that come to the Republican convention. It's not a government thing. It's the convention of the Republican Party. It's not our government, you see. And this is what has happened in our republic. You know, we're not a democracy, we are a republic. Okay, we're a democratic republic. And political parties have risen up and taken this control over the people. So it's not our law. These primary elections are not federal law. You know, they're being held under the protection of the federal law because the political parties are all intertwined with the system. So it's really a private enterprise. The political party is really a private enterprise. And they make their own rules. See? So this is the way it's worked so far. All of these delegates come to their convention, and each state has a delegation, which is made up of several delegates. And every delegation has a spokesperson. So the night of the convention, it's usually 2 or 3 nights, they have the person who's leading the convention, and he calls for I don't know what the right word would be, but he goes around from state to state. He calls the name of the state, and the spokesperson for the delegation, okay, which are all the delegates that were elected, stands up and says, the great state, well, that was a national, okay, I'm sorry to be confusing, stands up and says, the great state of Florida cast their delegate votes for Donald Trump. And everyone goes, yeah. And the next state stands up and says, you know, the great state of Ohio cast their votes for John Kasich. Yeah. And then after every state has voted, they count up the votes, and usually in the past there hasn't been any contest. It's recognized before they get there who has the nomination, because they know in advance that they have all of those votes. So there's a vote. There's an oral vote on the floor of the convention. Okay? Now, according to what I read, at the last year, the Ron Paul was running. I don't know whether it was Ron Paul or Rand Paul. I don't know whether it was, I think it was Ron Paul, but I may have Ron is the father, Rand is the son. Ron Paul is now retired, Rand Paul is still in the Senate. They wanted to lock him out. I can't get into it. I'm not equipped to explain it to you any better, so I'm going to make it very brief. He has been, I guess it had to be Ron Paul. Had been running for president for years, and he has a libertarian message, a message that's not mainstream, and he never ever has enough votes to be of any significance at all. He's retired now. But for some reason they wanted to lock him out. They wanted to control his votes. So they created this rule. There's a committee, okay, a rules committee in the Republican Party, which is a private enterprise, okay? They made this rule that in order for you to submit your name, that you should be a potential candidate, or that you should be in the race which will choose who will be the Republican candidate for that election, you have to take a majority of votes in at least 8 states. And they just created, it's a new rule, because they did it, because they knew that Ron Paul would never get 8 states under his name. So now, the rule is still standing there. And Donald Trump has 8 states, and I don't think anybody else does. Okay. Marco Rubio certainly didn't have 8 states, okay? And I think at one point I think Cruz may have 9 today, but at one point it didn't look like Cruz was even going to get 9. So Trump was the only one that could even submit his name, okay? So now what they're saying is one guy actually spoke up and said, oh, where did you hear that? You know, no, that's not our, oh, I'm sorry, let me finish. I have to explain something else first. So there's such a thing as a first vote. They go around, okay? And if the way the votes are counted, if it's not easily determined who will be the nominee, because if you have 2 votes, you have 10 votes, you have 8 votes, they have to decide, oh, I have to talk to you about that too. If I forget, I want to talk to you about their definition of majority, okay? So, however it works, and as I said, I'm not equipped to explain it any better than I am. If there's a need for a second vote, because the first vote didn't really determine it, okay? If there's a need for a second vote, this is what happens. On the first vote, every delegate that's there is bound to the will of the people that elected him, okay? If you are if you're a delegate from Florida, and Donald Trump won, winner take all, I think 99 delegates from Florida, you are bound to vote all 99 votes of the state of Florida for Donald Trump. You have to do that, okay? If for any reason the first vote doesn't determine who's the nominee, and there's a second vote, all of the bounds are off. Okay, now vote for anyone that you want to. If it comes to a second vote, the delegate is no longer bound to the vote of the people. They could change Florida's vote to Cruz tomorrow. So we have all of these Republicans scheming as to how to overthrow the first vote so that there'll surely be a second vote.
Oh, wow.
Is this crazy?
Yeah.
Now, this is not our government. This is the party. And our founders warned us against political parties. See? Yeah. So, and now this guy's standing up saying, oh, where did you hear that? Okay, they're not bound on the first vote. They're not bound on the first vote. The delegates from Florida can give all of their votes to Rubio or to Cruz. They're not bound on the first vote. You see, it's the same situation in the Senate and the Congress. They set the rules. They set their own rules. If the rule it doesn't fit them today, they change the rule for tomorrow. You know? So that was when people started to get upset. It was bad enough when we heard that these Republican bigwigs were scheming and getting together to see how they could overthrow Trump. But when this one stood up and said, well, we can do anything we want on the first vote, then that leaves you to say, well, what is the election all about? So people started really getting upset about that. But you need to understand that this is not our Constitution talking. This is the rules of the Republican Party. And it just shows what they think of the people, the big shots. And it's not just the Republicans, it's the Democrats too. This is what they think of the people. They're just using us so that they can stay in power and become rich. Within 1 year, a poor man is elected, comes to Washington. Within 1 or 2 years, he's a millionaire. And it wasn't always this way, but what's happening now is that there's a part of the political correctness in this country, is that there has been established an elite and an everyman. Okay? We have an aristocracy in this country here. And what qualifies you to be in the aristocracy is that you go to an Ivy League school. And then you're a part of the aristocracy. Okay? And everybody else is just this little serf that's just there for your own purposes. And this is the attitude with a lot of them. I've heard people speak that they don't think the average man has the intellect to address issues in the world today. And they need to be ruled over. So we have an aristocracy in the country today, but we still have power to throw them out if the people would just wake up. Mm. But they're destroying the country because when they get to that place of power, what they're doing is they're using witchcraft on the man in the street, and they're giving him candy, or like when the Europeans came here and they gave the Indians shiny beads. They're giving us shiny beads. You don't have to work, you don't have to work. You can go on welfare. You can go on disability. You don't have to work. We'll take care of you, see? And a lot of people have bought it, see? But anyway, so then I wanted to talk about the majority here. So here's another issue. Listen to this. And I was so grateful for Hannity to explain this because it was going right over my head. So I thank God for Hannity. Hannity was never one of my favorite commentators, but I have a newfound respect for him, and I'm so grateful for him. I heard Ted Cruz say this. Right now, the last I heard, Donald Cruz has 53% approval from the Republicans. But at the time that I heard Cruz say this, Donald had 35%. And Ted Cruz was saying, Donald Trump does not have a majority. There is 65% of Republicans that don't want him. So he doesn't have a majority. He's not who you think he is. He's the front runner. And it didn't get into my brain enough for me to say, well, how is he the front runner and he's nobody because he only has 35%? It wasn't even a question in my mind. I had not even recognized the contradiction yet. So they were saying, so Ted Cruz was saying, well, Kay should drop out and Rubio should drop out, and assuming and giving the people to believe that if these other contenders dropped out, all of their the people who were voting for them would automatically go to Cruz, and then Cruz would have 65%, and Trump would have 35%. And Trump responded to that, and he said, well, not all of them are going to go to Cruz. Some of them will come to me. So if I have 35% now, and Ted Cruz has 20%, okay, and so that's 55%. So when if the other candidates that have 45% of the votes drop out, then some of those 45% of the votes will come to me, and some will go to Cruz. Why are you assuming that all of those votes will go to Cruz, and then you'll overtake my 35%? So I understood that. That I understood, okay? And then I heard somebody say, 51% is a majority. So Trump, he needs a majority. If he can get to the convention with a majority of the delegate votes, okay, then there's nothing they can do about it, okay? If he gets the majority, and 51% of the votes is a majority. So that went right over my head until I heard Hannity say, 51, what they're saying, let me tell you what they're saying. They're saying that, how am I going to say this? That Trump, in order to be uncontested, he has to have 51% of all the votes. Okay, let's say there's 100 votes. Okay. He needs 51 votes. But that's not true. Because a majority, what is a majority? If you're two people, 51 votes is the majority. But if you're 4 people and you have 10 votes, and you have 30 votes, and you have 20 votes. So what is that? 30 votes, 20 votes, 50, 60 votes, and I have 40 votes. I have 40 votes, okay. You have 20, you have 20, and you have 20. What does that add up to? You have 20, you have 20, you have 20, and I have 40. What does that add up to?
100.
And who has the majority? No, I don't have the majority. You need 51% of the votes to have the majority. Did you ever hear of anything like that in your life? If you have 4 people running, the person that has the most votes is the majority. So you're telling me I have to get 51% of the vote, and I don't have a majority because there were 3 other people running and you have 20 each? So that had gone right over my head. I just was so grateful to Hannity for straightening that out, that craziness, you know. So Trump has made a statement. I'm being provocative again. He said if they try to steal it, he's obviously the front runner. They're coming out in droves. Okay, it's just really exciting. He said, and he's way out in front now. You know, there's a small possibility that he could still get enough votes to have 51%. They don't say 51%, they say 1,200 and something. It's an arbitrary number. You know. That if he gets that many votes, they can't touch him. But these guys are rule breakers. They'll touch him even if he gets those amount of votes. They're totally untrustworthy. So hold on, I'm losing my thought here. So what was I trying to say? I told you about the majority, and then there was something else that I wanted to say. Oh yeah, so Cruz said, Trump said, if you try to steal this nomination from me, in other words, here's a moral issue. Here's a moral exercise, an exercise in ethics for us. The party rules say that you need 1,200, and I don't remember, I'm going to say 1,250 because I don't remember the exact number. If you get that, you get the nomination and there's no contest. And there are people saying, 1,250 votes, no contest. If Trump comes in with 1,200, we have to have a brokered convention. If he comes in 1,250 needed for there to be no contest. If he comes in with 1,200, if he's short 50 votes, then they have to start everybody voting and breaking everything up. Now, is that crazy? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Not that far.
Okay. It's an arbitrary number, okay? The Republican Party decided, they just picked up an arbitrary, I mean, it means it's not exact. They say this number. If you get this many votes, you're the nominee and we don't have to have a vote, and it's just established. 1,250 votes, okay? That's what you need for there to be no contest. And these men are saying, if Trump comes in at 1,200, okay, and Cruz has 500, okay, Trump has 1,200 and Cruz has 500, okay, but Trump is 50 short of this arbitrary number. Arbitrary meaning the Rules Committee said it and they could change it at any time that they want. So Trump has 1,250 votes short, Cruz has 500, he is 600, my math is probably wrong, he's 600 votes short, and Cruz is 50 votes short. They're going to take that opportunity to say, Trump, you didn't arrive at an arbitrary number, so we're going to take this opportunity to have a vote, and the delegates aren't obligated, and they're going to take the nomination away from you and give it to, they're actually talking about giving it to Paul Ryan. They're actually talking about giving it to somebody that didn't even run. See, they were thinking about Romney, but I think people didn't respond to his attack on Trump at all. Now they've offered it to Paul Ryan, with John Kasich as his vice president.
With who?
John Kasich as his vice president. Ryan, who didn't even run. Yeah. And that's when they're saying if the people don't choose the candidate, we choose the candidate. So their true feelings are coming out and being exposed. They think nothing of the people. They just manipulate them. If they can't manipulate them, then they do what they want anyway. See? But I guess I want to wind it down with this. If not, if I don't wind it down, I need to take a break. So they're threatening that if Cruz, you know, if he looks like he's going to take the nomination, they won't let him have it anyway. They're going to give it to who they want to give it to. That's what they're saying. And Trump said, if you do that, if you try to steal the nomination from me, there will be riots. So now they're saying that he's telling people to riot. He's not telling the people to riot. There's going to be a riot in this country that the Republican Party will not survive. See? And I don't think the Republican Party will survive this. It will survive in another form. But if they try and steal that nomination, it's the end of the Republican Party. And I think I'm really hoping that these men, because they're not stupid, you know, that when it really comes down to it, that they'll galvanize around Trump. But if they don't, I think Trump will go third party. He doesn't want to, because he knows that if he goes third party, Hillary's going to win. Well, that's not necessarily true, you know. God can do anything, you know. But it would be most likely that Hillary would win if you divide the votes of the Republican votes. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you never know, so many Democrats are coming over to Trump's side, anything can. But I'll tell you, if that happens, if they force Trump to run as a third-party candidate, and he should win, because the Democratic Party's imploding also, it's the end of the two parties, which is a good thing. That's a good thing. So, but I'm hoping that these men, that they will back down at the end. But if they don't, and he sees no other way, I think Trump will go third party. Even if he knows that he's not going to win, because it will destroy the Republican Party. But I cannot see it happening, that Trump would be forced to do that they would be so criminal, that the Republican Party would be so criminal, that Trump would be forced to go third party, and then Hillary would just win. I can't see that, because I believe God is involved in this. So there has to be destruction to the Democratic Party also, because they're even more corrupt than the Republican Party. Did you hear Hillary's latest gaffe? Did you hear her latest gaffe? You know, her mess up, her mistake when she was.
I heard something about it.
Yeah. Well, you know, Hillary, you know, she was Secretary of State when Benghazi happened. Yeah. Well, she was questioned on Benghazi. And she's such a BS artist, pardon my abbreviations. She's such a dishonest person. She's trying to get her way out of it and saying, yeah, and not one life was lost in Benghazi. That's what she said. It's on tape. Not one life was lost. You know, well, she forgot. It meant nothing to her. She forgot all about it. All that she could think about was lying her way out of the question, and the lives that were lost meant nothing to her. She's a big liar. She's a terrible liar. Yeah. Terrible, terrible liar. So she's a terrible person. I cannot believe. My hope is that these Republicans that are in absolute shock at what's happening with Trump, that when they see that they can't, let's see what Trump will get. You know, let's see how many votes he'll get. But when they see that there's really nothing that they can do about it, you know, that they will coalesce around him. I'm hoping for that. But if they don't, and it's really very clear that he has no choice, I believe Trump will go third party, even though he knows he might not win. He'll destroy the evil entity, which is the Republican Party. But that can't be the end of it, because judgment is on the Democrats also. The judgment is on the corruption through the whole political system. So it can't be as simple as that. As Trump will go third party, Hillary will win, the Republican Party will be destroyed, and the Democratic Party will become an oligarchy over the whole country, which they already are anyway. You know, no, that can't happen. There has to be destruction to the whole corrupt political system. You know. So we'll see what's going to happen. I believe that what God desires and what honor God the most would be that all of the people should rise up and see the truth of the beast, which is this evil mind, and resist. And if we resist as one man, they can't survive. You see? So I believe that what God would like and what I would like, my first choice, and I believe his first choice, is that the people should by legal means overthrow the beast. But if it doesn't happen, then we'll see what happens from there. But the Spirit of God is moving powerfully. So we'll go from the least destructive to the little more destructive to a little more destructive, and hope and pray that we overturn this wickedness without it turning into a hot civil war. That's what we hope and pray, because these evil people, Soros and MoveOn.org, and Obama himself wants a civil war. So that's my hope, that the people are waking up. And I know that I was preaching at the TV the other day. There's such an anointing fell on me. I was preaching at the TV, and I was saying to Obama, when I saw these what's happening for Trump, I was saying to Obama, I said, you lost your chance. You should have declared civil war a couple of years ago. You lost your chance. If you dared, you wouldn't dare to do it now. All of these people rising up, for that they found a leader, and they all have guns, or most of them have guns. You wouldn't dare try to instill martial law now, and I think that's true. He wouldn't dare. He lost his chance. He should have done it a year ago if he was going to do it. But he didn't do it a year ago because he was afraid of all the people in the country with guns. You see. So that's what's all over me. We've gotten past a very dangerous situation, the danger of him trying to force martial law and a dictatorship upon us. The people wouldn't stand for it. It would be a hot civil war, and there were too many people that are armed. So we wouldn't dare do it. So I find that, if you can follow what I'm saying, did you follow what I'm saying? Very, very encouraging, yeah. So, is there anything else that I wanted to say? Anything else, Lord, that you want me to tell him? Anything else at the moment? Any other questions? Anybody? My voice is getting huskier.
What about the people? Oh, excuse me.
Right.
What about the people's vote? You know, even to the coming of the action Trump had to take, the third party. If their vote, you know, if they rise up and they see that they're not being accepted as the main people that belong to this country, and vote for him outright, what can be that? What could be that? You know?
Well, I think what you're saying is, why can't he win? It would be very hard. I mean, anything's possible, but it would be very hard for him to win, because it would split the Republican vote. There would be people, okay, that would vote for Trump if he was the nominee, okay? But if he wasn't the nominee, they would be loyal to the party. Mm-hmm. So some people would vote for the party candidate, and some people would vote for Trump, and then neither Trump nor the Republican Party candidate would have enough votes to overtake Hillary.
Okay.
So they say to do that is the destruction of the Republican Party. It has to be destroyed anyway. You know? It has to be ripped out at its root. Exactly how God will do that, I don't know. It has to be burnt. It has to be cauterized. It's poisonous. Completely poisonous, the whole system. And the pork and the waste, it's just disgusting. It's just disgusting. And they're taking it out on the veterans, giving money to people that don't work. And not only that, you know, they give it, a lot of money goes out into the education system right now. Our university system right now has become a milk cow for the people. They want to give money to people. They want to launder money, because they're giving millions of dollars away to their friends, you know, to their political friends, you know. And a lot of it is done through the university system. And who's paying the price for that? All these young people that want to go to college. It's disgusting. When I was in college, if you didn't have money to go full-time, so you went at night. You know, there's no more night college. You don't even have that opportunity to do that if you want to. And the reason the rates keep going up is because the college officials are making incredible salaries, like $250,000 a year for a college professor, you know. And they're all communists, destroying the minds of the kids anyway. So, and they're getting a lot of money for experiments, for example. One of the experiments that I saw, I think it was just this morning, and I don't know what university it is. They're doing experiments on shrimp. They were showing the aggressive properties of two shrimp when they left living shrimp. They were actually fighting with each other, which really surprised me. A couple of $1 million to find out how aggressive shrimp are. And all of these crazy projects that they're scientists, you know, they're scientists or social scientists, and they do all of these tests and draw conclusions, and they're getting millions of dollars for it. And then every once in a while, I hear it on Rush Limbaugh once, and I guess I hear it all over, you know. Well, such and such a university did this test, and they found out that, I'm going to say something, I can't remember an exact case, so I'm going to say something bizarre to make my point. They just spent $15 million doing this research, and they found out that most women love their husbands. You know? I mean, crazy stuff like that, and they just prove it. You know? So they're spending millions and billions of dollars to prove what everybody knows. You know. Mm. And so Donald Trump was saying one of his issues is that he will not cut. Now this is very interesting. He said that he will not cut Social Security now, and Rubio was really upset over that. Marco was really upset over that. I've been hearing this for years, that if we don't fix Social Security, it's going to collapse. And there are going to be all these senior citizens without any money, see. The mystery of Social Security, for those of you that don't know it, is that that's an insurance policy.
Exactly.
We have paid into that all of the years that we worked. And Governor Kasich, aside from wanting to implement amnesty within the first 100 days and signing NAFTA and TPP, his solution to the entitlement, to the shortage of money in Social Security, is to make an arbitrary decision, which means, arbitrary decision means